I want to talk about something almost every guy feels, but nobody says out loud, mostly because it sounds ridiculous the second you try to explain it. It's that feeling that you're behind, not failing, not screwing your life up, just behind. Like you showed up to the game on time, you're in uniform, you're warmed up, you're doing what the coach asked. But somehow the scoreboard says you're losing and no one explained when that happened. You know that feeling. Here's the weird part. You can be doing objectively well. You've got a job. You're paying your bills. You're not blowing your life up. You're not living on your buddy's couch eating protein bars and regret. And yet there's this constant low-level pressure in your chest that says, yeah, but you should be further along by now. Further along from where? Nobody knows. But your brain brings it up anyway, like an unpaid intern who won't stop interrupting. This is one of the most common conversations I hear from men, and it always starts the same way. I don't know, man. I'm doing fine. I just feel behind. And then there's usually a pause, because the second you try to explain it, it sounds ungrateful. You're not supposed to complain about things when they're fine, right? You just carry it. Let me tell you what that feeling is not. It is not laziness. It is not discipline. It is not that you need to want it more. You see, most of the men who feel behind are actually the most responsible guys in the room. You've ever noticed that? You see, they show up, they handle their shit. They just quietly feel like they're losing a race they never signed up for. And here's why. You see, your brain was not built to see this many lives at once. It just wasn't. For most of human history, you compared yourself to maybe 10 people. You have your family, your neighbors, the guys you worked with. That was it. Now, before you've even had your coffee, you've seen a 24-year-old with a supercar, a guy claiming he makes 7 figures working 4 hours a week, and then some dude with abs that look like they were carved by Michelangelo himself. And at no point does your brain go, oh, cool. That is probably exaggerated, filtered, staged, or missing context. No. You see, your brain goes, why don't I look like that? Why am I not there yet? What am I doing wrong? Dude, I'm guilty of this, man. And here's the funniest part. Half the people you're comparing yourself to aren't even real benchmarks. Some are renting, some are lying, some are broke but loud. Some are on their 5th pivot pretending that this one has finally worked. But your nervous system doesn't care. It doesn't know. It just registers threat. There are studies showing that constant exposure to curated success literally distorts your perception of progress. Not because you want what they have, not because it erases your internal scoreboard. You stop measuring yourself against who you were last year and start measuring yourself against strangers you've never met. That is a guaranteed way to always feel behind. And that is where men really get screwed up, bro. Because when a man feels behind, he does not slow down. He speeds up, he works harder, he pushes more, he skips rest, he ignores all the signals. Because somewhere along the way, we were taught that pressure means progress. So if it hurts, it must be working, right? Let's be honest for a second. Most men don't even know what they're chasing anymore. They just know that they're supposed to be chasing something. So they run. It's primal. And then they wonder why they're tired all the time. I still catch myself doing this all the time. I'll see someone doing something impressive, and instead of being inspired, I feel this weird internal clock start ticking faster. It's like, okay, cool, but why am I not there yet? And I have to stop and ask myself a brutally honest question. Do I actually want that? Do I just not want to feel left behind? You see, those are not the same thing. Here's something no one really ever tells us. Feeling behind usually has nothing to do with speed. It has everything to do with direction. If you're running towards something that isn't actually yours, you will always feel late. Always. There's research showing that men who define success internally have lower stress, better health, higher satisfaction, even when they progress slower on paper. Why? Because their nervous system isn't constantly bracing for judgment. They know what matters to them. They're not guessing. That clarity is calming. It simply is calming. Most men never slow down long enough to ask what they actually want. They just inherit goals from culture, from their family, from Instagram, from some podcast guy yelling in their ear while they're driving to work, and their wife sometimes. So they chase and then they feel empty. And then they assume something is wrong with them, but there's nothing wrong with you, my friend. Let me say this as clearly as possible. There is no universal timeline. There's no age where you're supposed to have it all figured out. And anyone who pretends otherwise is either selling something or compensating for something. You know what I'm saying? It's usually both. Another thing that messes men up is this idea that progress should feel exciting. But let me tell you from firsthand, it usually doesn't. Real progress feels boring as hell. It feels quiet. It feels repetitive, which is why it doesn't photograph well, you know? But boring progress is still progress. Don't get it twisted. It just doesn't get the likes. And that can suck because sometimes we just want a little validation. What do we do when you feel behind? First off, you don't panic. You don't grind harder. You don't start 5 new goals on Monday because that always ends well. You reorient. Reorientation starts with better questions. Questions like, why am I behind? Change that to, behind what? Or questions like, what am I missing? But change that to, what actually matters to me right now in this season? Those questions slow the spiral. They're tough. It's hard to remember, but sometimes maybe you just need to write them down and get used to asking yourself. Because let's face it, we're men. We don't remember everything. Tell my wife that every day. I don't remember everything you told me, but I still get yelled at. That's okay. Here's another thing. You also have to stop using other people as measuring sticks. It's a terrible tool. Everyone has different starting lines, different responsibilities, and different seasons. Comparing timelines without context is like comparing mile times without knowing who ran uphill. And here's the one that most men avoid: stillness. I'm going to repeat that: stillness. This is not scrolling. This is not planning. This is not optimizing. This is just sitting long enough for your own thoughts to show up without being interrupted or judged. That's where your internal compass recalibrates. This might be the most boring fucking thing you've ever done, and it will feel like that, but you literally have to do it. You have to. I have to set time apart every day to make sure that I just sit there, and it's the most uncomfortable thing ever, but I feel the progress happening. I feel my mind recalibrating. That stillness does something. You can pray, which I do a lot of that, and that helps, but just being still, it's a natural state. Try it out. But there is an uncomfortable truth with all this. Feeling behind is usually a sign that you've been living by someone else's scoreboard. And no matter how hard you play, you'll never win a game you didn't choose. Numbers don't lie. Check the scoreboard. Remember when Jay-Z said that? It's not necessarily true. So remember, you're not late. You're not broken. You're not failing at life. You're just realizing that comparison has been quietly steering you for years. And once you see that, you get to choose differently. I don't think men need to move faster. I think they need to move truer, if that's a word. They need to be clearer, more honest, because clarity beats speed every time. So next time, we're going to be talking about why working harder isn't fixing your life, why discipline alone keeps failing men who already have it, and why effort without direction just makes you tired. Because the problem isn't your work ethic. It never was. So remember, you're driven by purpose and you're built for legacy. Let's go.